There was a number of paradoxes we had in the organisation. For example, when mistakes were made, often it was blamed upon a drawing, let's say an instruction.
Sometimes it is the drawing's fault.
Yeah,
Well, it is. Definitely. Well,
If you're
Mr. Wilson produced it.
If it's a
So
salesman,
he produced the drawing, so it's definitely his fault.
if it's a salesman,
We've got
not my
sales,
fault.
design and production here.
That's
haven't we?
right.
It's really quite ironic.
It is
It's
like
always
Robin.
design, yeah.
It's always
Let's
design.
beat up
Let's
design.
beat up him.
Yeah.
Let's beat him up. He's red anyway.
Let's beat up sales. It's always
yeah,
sales.
it is actually their
Yeah.
cocky bastards.
No, it's not
Yeah.
production.
And they're out sat in the lay-by having their lunch, you know.
It's never production.
So what? As I dug into it, I just found more and more anomalies. And this is a paradox I experience in design, that if you have one drawing, you say, right, it needs to be like this. You go and make it, Chris, and you go along and you make it. And then one day you're not well, and Andrew comes along and does it. And he's a salesman, so it's us about facing upside down.
Yeah.
And Andrew says, well, of course the drawing's a problem.
It wasn't clear enough.
Wasn't clear enough.
Yeah.
Now I can
Areas
do
of doubt and uncertainty. I
areas of
think.
doubt. So I then say, well, okay. Well, I'll do another 9 drawings, making ourselves 10 drawings now in the drawing pack rather than just one, which you don't need. Only he needs.
I've got it in my head from when I've been making it for years.
Fantastic. And now there's 2 problems here. One is I give him 10 drawings, he doesn't read them.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a lot of help. Secondly, there's a tendency for every single new drawing I create to add in another error.
Yeah, I knew it was the problem of design. Told you.
You know, you write a book. I read Harry Potter the other day, and one of there's an error in a word, and it was a printing error, obviously, but nevertheless, it's an error, and you can't help errors coming in.
Yeah.
So the more you try to overcome the errors just with hardcore bureaucracy, the more likely you are to introduce more problems. There's more unintended consequences of every action. So the solution to this problem of some jobs make money and some jobs didn't make money wasn't more control. And I kept being troubled by the idea that if I gave it to you, you'd just get on and do it. And and perhaps part of that was you were engaged in part of the design process at some point. You know, you'd make prototypes at a time. So every single job you come through, you look at with the eyes of somebody who's evaluating what you're looking at, rather than somebody who's just saying, well, how can I get this through?
Yeah.
How can I satisfy the chore of today?
So combining design and production will mean much less errors because you won't get the communication problem. And
So initially I thought it's all about people. It's all about you versus Andrew. And then having you in production, you know, was worth your weight in gold.
But it's too many variables to control, isn't it, and plan for. You can't
That's
think, well,
right.
this is the drawing I'll give to Chris, and this is the drawing I'll give to Andrew. And you just can't possibly legislate for that.
No, and how do we manage you, and how do we supervise you, and how do we administer you, given the fact that now you're turning into an individual in an organisation which actually flourishes on the fact that everybody's treated just like a cog in a machine.
Yeah.
Generic human labour.
It never will be, because also I get bored with making the thing I'm good at. And then Andrew needs to learn, so sometimes it's better to give it to him, even though he'll do a worse job. The whole thing becomes impossible to calculate.
So,
Yeah.
and then we looked at. I got stuck because it just seemed to be an impenetrable problem.